Good morning and welcome to Frank's School. This is the June 1st update. It's the 7th year, 62nd day, first video of Frank's School. Cat. Anyway, this is an update. I had said I'm going to, once a month, the beginning of each month, I'm going to try to give an update of how things are going with the construction of the set for Resurrection, for this movie Resurrection. And I have to say, Kat, this isn't going to work. You're going to, well, I'll try holding him for a while. This guy's name is Thor. It's going very well, actually very well for the last month. I'm getting a lot done, and it's something. So, and I'll come back and make some other videos probably as part of this update. But anyway, many more of the folk huts have now been unbuilt. I'm unbuilding them, virtually all of them. When I stop and try to count, it's maybe 12 or 15 that are essentially unbuilt. And there's a reason why I'm throwing myself into that, which I'll try to explain as I go. In the process, I'm visiting some, I'm going to call it lesser work. I don't want to call it bad work. I'm going to adjust this camera just a little bit. I'm not going to call it bad work because I was working with what I had and with what I knew and doing the best I could, but I've learned a lot. And so, as I suggested before, as I unbuild these huts, which for the most part they were only built up to the rail height, as I unbuild them, I get a chance to do them a little bit better as I come back up. But I am, so it's lesser work. When I get down through and I see what I did, and I realize the material I did not have available. I mean, I go back to the point where some of them, I was building them, I thought, with nothing but pallets, in which case they would have been free. But I hadn't figured out the roof at the time. And when I realized that I could build them strong enough to support a thick soiled, deep soiled living roof, then I realized I had to buy wood and use some new material. So now each folk hut is to the tune of about $300. Back then I had nothing. So anyway, I'm revisiting lesser work, but in the process I'm still awash with material, because so much of the wood that I had used to start to build up the sides, that was new wood. And even though it's been uncovered in to the weather in some cases for 2, maybe 3 years, it's fine. It's oak. I call it oak. It's various hardwoods, but a lot of it's oak. But now it's dry. And so to nail it is much harder. To saw it is not as easy, as I've talked about before. And so my solution there is all this wood that I'm generating, I'll use it for the floors, for the first floor. You get the dunnage as joists, then you get the pallets as a subfloor, and then the subfloor on a 45 is oak. And there's very limited sawing that has to be done. And in another video, I'm going to show you how I'm going about doing that. So that wood, I don't have to worry so much about how difficult it is to nail. I just lay the floor down. I'll use new wood then when I start to make the built-up parts, the sills, the rails, the plates, the structural trim, the joists, the rafters, etc. These I'll be going to the sawmill and buying the wood as I'm able to afford to do it. And of course it's much more pleasant to work with. So that's coming. This has to end, in my mind, by September 1st, 2020 for the movie Resurrection, to keep it believable. Now, the filming of the movie would have to start sooner, probably April 1st of 2020. But for the final shot in the movie where the whole resurrected village is revealed in a drone flight, that should be then. And as it's going to be very different and very much resurrected. Things are going really quite well. The season's race is on. I mean, this is June 1st now, and that burst, I think of that song, June is busting out all over. Well, you know, the burst of vegetation everywhere is on. And since I don't mow, I take my own advice. I don't mow. I have a herd of goats, but they do incomplete grazing. I mean, this idea that goats are just going to clean stuff off so it looks like a golf course, that's false. And as the year goes on, they graze and they graze, but they can't keep up at this time. So it's that point where stuff's coming on really fast. So I'm in the middle of that race now. Water wheels to build, I've got about 7 or 8, some very big, but they're not critical at the moment. They could wait. I've got windmills to build. They can wait even longer. The guest house, however, that I have to turn to by July 1st. By a month from now, I have to have turned my attention to that. Because I have to make sure that for next winter, the animals and myself who are will be down in the downstairs of the guest house, that will be okay. That the winter won't be as hard as winters have been. I need to turn my attention to that. By then the hay probably will have been in, or it'll be about to come in. Now in that season's race, thank heaven for extreme mulching. With that technique, which I've discussed elsewhere, and I'll revisit it, I can petrol-free garden. I can garden in spite of June's busting out all over, without using a rototiller or a plow or a harrow disc, none of that stuff, or weed whacker. I don't need that stuff with extreme mulching. And in the process, I shouldn't forget this, I'm gardening maybe as much as an acre of ungardened ground before, in some cases swamp, by myself. I'm actually gardening. It actually does work. Now it takes years. It'll take years to come around, but I'm actively gardening that, and I'm about to head right out into the fields with that same process. My health is good, which is a mercy because I'm doing so much of this, and I'm an old man. My neighbor got pigs, and I said they didn't have a very good place to be, and I said I'll take care of them if you want. So whoa, that's been something new for about, I'm going to say 2 weeks. I've had some pigs down there. That's more work. That's interesting. But the big news, really, which I'll have to maybe do in another video more, is David's work. I've got David is a young man. He's in college. He's about 22, but he's home from college. Now I've talked, and I all the time talk a lot about Matthew, who is a friend of David's. And Matthew is the one who, with me, has written the book. They're in the same class, and Matthew's still working on this college, but David's home for the summer, and he lives in town. Well, he has some friends. His younger brother is interested. He has an older friend, and there are others. They have taken a very active interest in this, and his work is important. Now, extremely important is the fact that his father is going along with what David wants. David has decided to build himself a folk hut on their property in Meadowbrook Terrace. Now, Meadowbrook Terrace is one of the more upscale parts of Bedford. It's really a beautiful neighborhood. All the houses they're ranch houses mostly, which is a little bit of a, well, no, that's not strange for Bedford given that they're relatively new. And it's all groomed. It's really a beautiful area. And plop in the middle of Meadowbrook Terrace, David is building a folk hut. It's unlike what I'm doing. I have to stop and say, now you're building one, I'm building 30. You're building a folk hut, I'm building a village. But because of that, he's going to be able to do, and will do very good, fine work. And so finally, we're going to get to see a folk hut taken right to completion with the garden on top and everything. And he does very good work. And these are smart men, young men. They're smart. They have minds, and they think about what they're doing, and they want to learn. And so there'll be one finished folk hut. I'm doing more to help him accomplish that than I'm worried so much about what I'm doing. Well, that's been a little bit fast, but I'll come back and review some of this, no doubt. But you have a little bit of an update. Bye for now.